and welcome to today's episode of Global Photography's Forum. Now today's guest is somebody who actually literally lives on top of the world. Today's guest is Cecilia Blomdahl. Now she lives in a cabin in Svalbards. Now I'll let her do the introduction and tell you where that is. She has been living in this beautiful landscape for the past 4.5 years. Hi Cecilia, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having
How
me.
are you?
I'm good, very good.
Got to mention you are also a fellow Fstop champion and a fantastic photographer, no doubt. So the guys are probably wondering by what I meant by yourself living on top of the world, which you literally are. Can you
Yeah.
just tell us what that means exactly?
Well, so Svalbard is a group of islands. It's actually Svalbard and Jan Mayen, and the island that we live on is called Svalbard, so it's Spitsbergen. And on this island, we have one town called Longyearbyen, which is governed by Norway, and this is where I live. So we are about 1,050 kilometers away from the North Pole, so very close.
That is very close. So you're higher. So just get in perspective. A lot of people will obviously know where Iceland is. You're further than Iceland, if I'm not mistaken.
If you have Greenland about at like almost at the top, then you have Svalbard, almost at the top of Greenland.
But I'm not going to try to say any of the words that you just said now because I'm going to probably get them all wrong. How does it feel living up there? I mean, you've been there for about 4.5 years. Tell us about where the decision came from, or...
It's an amazing place. It's very special. So I think you need to be kind of a certain type of person to live here. We're only about 2,400 people living here. So it's a very small little town. But it offers you so much of nature that I think that's what draws people in here. Like when I came up, a lot of people come up and they say that they're going to stay here for a couple of months. I bet you if you ask anybody, they're going to say, oh, I was only supposed to be here for 3 months. And the same was with me. I was supposed to be here for 3 months. And then after, the months just go on and then you're still here because you just can't leave because it's amazing. It's a special place. So 4.5 years later, I'm still here.
4.5 years, I think I can relate to that way. You're saying you were there, you meant to go for 3 months or something, and then you ended up going for 4.5 years. This is wow. If we just have a look at your website and look at some of your images, we'll probably understand why that probably is.
Yeah.
Move this. Yeah. So this is your homepage just there. Look, wow, that landscape is phenomenal. So is this close by to where you are?
Not really. To get around the island in the wintertime, we can only travel by snowmobile. And in the summertime, we can only go by boat. So we only have about one road that kind of leads through the village. And anything outside the village, you need like a snowmobile or boat. So this is the winter shots. We've driven maybe like 5 hours with a snowmobile to get there. And then you have to drive home again or stay in a cabin. So it's it's very different.
Unreal, absolutely unreal. I'm just going to have to take them on because it's like...
it's one of my favorites.
There. The ridge is just phenomenal. Have you ever witnessed, I mean, I think they are collapsing there. Have you caught anything there?
No, this is in the winter, so it doesn't move that much. But in the summer, you need to be aware so you don't go too close. There's always a limit. I think it's 300 meters because they do what's called calve.
Okay. That sound, the crackling noise and the stuff that you hear.
And you can just hear a crack and then you will see it fall into the ocean. That's also one of my favorite places. Yeah. That's when we go on a cabin trip as well. We go to places like this. And this is in northern Norway, though. That's
okay.
That's northern Norway, Lofoten.
Oh,
we have the polar bears.
Population. Oh, is that what? Yeah, there they are.
Bears. They came. We were staying in a cabin because on the weekends here we have a couple of different cabins scattered across the island, so we can kind of rent them for a weekend. So we went to one at Cap Schultz, it's called, and suddenly we were just sitting inside. We looked outside our window and literally 1 meter outside the window, we have these 2 polar bear kind of cubs just staring. And they were actually climbing on our snowmobiles. And they have a tendency to bite and ruin anything. So we had to open the window and just go, no, go away.
Just
they were scared.
Just for like for their own safety and the safety of the things around you.
Yeah.
So when you initially came here, like you said, you fell in love with the place, obviously, almost instantly.
Yeah.
How, with it being with the population being so small, how did you manage to get about and find work and survive really?
Yeah.
How did that
So
come
one
about?
important thing about Svalbard is that you should have a job before you move here. It's kind of like you're not supported by the society up here if you don't have a job. So there's not going to be any what do you call it, welfare or any society like helping you. You need to have a job and you need to be able to pay for yourself. So that's why we don't have that many old people because we don't have anything that supports them. So when you get here, you do need to have a job, which I had when I moved up. You also need to have an apartment before because we don't have that many apartments. So, but after that, I mean, I thought I was gonna think that it was smaller. I thought that I was gonna feel that it was smaller. But
Mm.
it's kind of like a big city with the pulse of all the tourists coming in, but then it is very tiny. But you don't feel it that much.
How is tourism in the is it known for tourism? Do you get tourists like you do in Iceland, for example, or Norway?
Definitely. So now during the corona, of course, we have been on lockdown. We haven't had a single visitor in like 3 months. But otherwise, this is right now mainly making money from tourism. Before it was from the coal mining, and that's why this like town is here because they just mine coal. But now
Ah,
it's mostly from tourism. So it's very important for us up here that we have people that come visiting, and I'd say the busiest season is our winter season, and our winter is not normal winter. Our winter is February to May. That's when we have our sunny winter. So we have minus 30 degrees, sunshine, bunch of snow, and you go on snowmobiles and you explore.
wow, that was going to segue me into the next question was, are you constantly living on like ice all the time, or does it ever clear?
Our ground is permanently frozen. So in the ground, it's always going to be frozen all year round. But in the winter, you will have mostly snow and ice. But then during the summer months, which is now, we have like tundra. So it doesn't really grow anything, but there's a sort of kind of orangey grass. So the ground is orange. It's not green. In some places, it can be a little bit green, but we don't have that much grass, or we have no trees, no bushes, nothing grows. So
That's
it's
obviously
just
because of the cold and not enough sun, or well, you do get sun, but it's not the same. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So it's the permanently frozen ground. You can't really, nothing really grows there.
So originally you're from, is it Sweden?
Yeah, Gothenburg.
And Sweden does have a good variety of trees, if I'm not mistaken.
We do.
How did you feel the difference? I mean, when I came out here to Dubai, and things were different where there are trees, but it's not the same as you get, you get back in the UK where there's forest land and stuff like that. So it's not the same. And plus, with it all being man-made, it does have that impact. How did you? I mean, yours isn't man-made as such. Yours is the way it is because of nature. How did it have an impact on you when you went out and all you saw was just vast sheets of ice, for as far as
Yeah.
I can see? How does that actually feel? Does it
I think
have an impact on you?
Yeah, but since it's so extreme, you kind of love the beauty of what this is. Like outside my house, I have about 6 different glaciers that I can see from my house. So like you kind of just move your focus from, okay, we don't have trees, but I have 6 glaciers outside my house that I can watch. So like I don't feel like I'm missing something. I can go
I
home.
understand,
I
yeah.
do love trees, but up here it's just different. So you enjoy all of the different things.
Yeah, it's also really making use of what's saying like negative space. It's nothing but there's something for you to enjoy, really, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. Like we might not have trees, but we have so much other amazing nature. But I
So
do love coming home and just smelling grass, that kind of tree smell. We don't
you
really
talked
have
about
that.
it being very, very cold.
Yeah.
How is your temperature? Let's just talk about today, for example.
Yeah.
How is it for you today? You said it's summer, so summer's kicking in slowly.
Yeah. It snowed about 3 days ago. Even though, so
In
we had a
summer.
snowstorm in June. But today it's 6 degrees, which is like a good day. It's like, okay, yay. But I mean, it's between 0 to about 10 degrees during summer. Last year, I think we had 2 days with like 15 degrees. It was shocking. I went sunbathing, of course. But, it's a cold summer. The
So
sun is always up.
does that extreme change all of a sudden, where you get the temperature fluctuation? It just happens overnight, literally.
The rule about Svalbard, which we tell everybody moves there, like here, the weather's going to change within 1 hour, and it's going to go from one extreme to the next. So whenever you're going out on a trip, whether it's
Yeah.
snowmobile or hiking, you need to bring everything you can imagine for every weather. So I remember we had just now when it was winter, we had one day where it went from 0 degrees to minus 25 within 10 hours. I mean, that's quite a lot in just like one day. So it went from, I don't know, it's just crazy. So you need to be well prepared because a storm can roll in 20 minutes. It can start
Yeah.
snowing in 5.
And if you're caught out in those environments, it's nasty. There's absolutely nothing much you can really do because I know, I don't know if you've ever been stuck in a blizzard. I haven't myself, obviously, in a snow blizzard where you just cannot see anything.
Wide
I'm
out.
just referring this from, you have.
Yes,
Have you ever
many
been?
times.
Oh, wow. That must be really frightening.
It's insane, to be honest, because when you get caught, like it's mostly when we're out driving our snowmobiles, it is very common to get caught up in a whiteout. So we all have GPSs on our snowmobiles. But I remember this one time where I've never felt so disoriented because I didn't know anything of what was around me. I didn't know if I was going down something or if I was, and I just had to keep my eyes focused on the person in front of me. And I could only see this much of his helmet, and he was about 10 meters away from me. And I just tried to stay focused because we were trying to go home. We failed though. We drove for 3 hours in a whiteout to have to turn around and drive back to the cabin.
Ouch.
Yeah, so we couldn't go to work. We had to just send from our satellite phones that we're stuck. We can't go to work. But it
How
was
long did that,
insane.
how long did that last for? Until it was all clear and you were okay?
We could leave the next day in the morning.
So you
So
just
it
literally
can
changed
be,
overnight.
yeah, it can be days or it can be just hours. But it's a crazy feeling to be stuck. And also when you know that you're outside, you only have your clothes, you only have your snowmobile, and you're in the middle of nowhere. You're hours away from civilization. But it's also a cool feeling because you know you have to just stick it out. You have to be smart as well. You can't just,
You have to
yeah,
do it to survive.
exactly. You just have to get home or go back to the cabin. And that's why it's very important, what I feel, when you go on a trip up here, you need to choose the people you go with. Or be
Yeah,
very, very wary of your own possibilities, like what you're able to do.
I mean,
Because,
I'm getting the sense of you love this adventure and this thrill,
yeah,
adrenaline. Really, just instead of, I mean, like I said, I would be scared in those environments, obviously, because it is very frightening. You're not,
yeah,
you get I'm not going to say the word.
disoriented.
Yeah, that's what happens. And you're not quite sure where you are, and you can get lost in that kind of sense, and not showing how it's going to be. So, well done to you for doing that. But
Because we've had friends who've gotten stuck in whiteouts, had to dig themselves into like a, I don't know what the English word is for it, but where you just make a
like,
hole to
yeah,
get
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
like
to
a
get out
cave
of
sort of thing.
yeah, what's it called in English? I don't know. But where they've actually had to call the Sysselman, which is our government, who had to come and rescue them with a helicopter. And they were many kilometers away from this like village and they couldn't get home. So
Wow.
yeah, you need to be
There's no mercy for
prepared.
anybody really, is there? That's extreme. So these kind of does this happen mainly in the winter time when it's more likely to happen? I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, we need snow. I mean, it mostly happens when we have a lot of snow. In the summer,
Hmm.
we're going to have different kind of weather. It's going to be very stormy, but you don't have the snow, so you have a different kind of visibility.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
It's got,
mostly in the snow time.
I still can't fathom how you're saying it's summer, but it's still full of snow. It's just so bizarre to just kind of like put the two together. So you're talking maximum you've reached in summer is about 16, average about 10 to 6. So what's it like in the winter?
I'd say average about minus, it kind of depends when, because our winter, okay, I'll start over. We have a polar night, which is when we have 24-hour 7 darkness. And that starts in November. So the
Right.
sun
Yeah.
sets for 3 months or like 2.5. So that's kind of when winter starts, but we don't necessarily have snow at that time. It kind of depends on the weather, obviously. And at that
So
time, it's going to be maybe minus 5 degrees.
we literally mean where the sun goes below the horizon.
Yeah. And
Is
it
that
never
right?
comes
So
back up.
it doesn't come back up for a couple of months, right?
Yeah, two and a
Okay.
half months.
For two and a
And
half months, you get no sunlight.
none.
Does
And I
it? Does
think
it? Does it get? Do you get any light from anywhere? Is it, or does it just look like it's nighttime all the time? Literally,
nighttime,
is it dark?
dark, pitch black. It's the best time of year. I love the polar nights so much.
Is that when your aurora season might be the best? Because you do get the aurora there as well.
Yeah. It's going to be kind of our only season because we can't see it like when the sun is up. So we have the most epic season. And I think a lot of people think that this is the hardest for us up here. I know that a lot of journalists have come up here and they've asked people about the polar night, like kind of expecting to have these answers about it being horrible. And all of us are just kind of like, it's amazing. Everybody just says how amazing it is because it's so calm and quiet. And like the whole village kind of turns everything down a notch. Everything is just moving at slow speed, and it's beautiful. And you have the aurora like all day, and it's incredible.
I know you've got, is it a husky or
It's
a
a
wolf
Finnish
or something?
lapdog. Yeah,
Right.
it's a Finnish lapdog, and I stole it from my friend. So somebody else actually owns him, but he lives with me because we have a
Oh, okay.
connection. Yeah.
How old is he?
5.
Right. So you've had him since he was a pup, or?
Yeah, well, my friend actually owns him. He has a brother as well, but me and him have the weirdest connection. We just love each other, and she just feels like, I mean, we're neighbors, so he just lives with me, and we're very happy together.
Wow, I know
So
he's
I've had,
beautiful. I've seen so many snaps of him. You know, what you put up on Instagram when I follow your stories, guys. If you really want to know what I'm talking about, you really have to follow Cecilia's story to find out. There was once where a couple of days ago, maybe last week, he was outside and you were asking him to come inside, and I
yeah,
loved how you were communicating with him. It seemed like you were speaking in your native language as well.
yeah,
He seemed to understand, but you're also putting a bit of English in there as well, and
yeah.
he just wouldn't want to come inside.
No, he
And
refuses.
I don't know if this was a confusion because I know at this time, you know, you mentioned earlier in the winter the sun goes below the horizon, but right now we've got it where the sun is above the horizon day and night.
Exactly. So we have 24-hour sun. We have the midnight sun, and it never sets. It's going to set again in August. So it is daylight all the time. So right now it is 12 p.m. So 12 in the middle of the day. And this is what it looks like. It's quite overcast right now, but as you can see, it's full on daylight. It's 12 p.m. So it's midnight and the sun is shining. How crazy is that? Crazy. So it's 12 p.m. and the sun is shining here on Svalbard. So this is the midnight sun. Crazy, right?
I mean, we talked about your winter and how cold it really does get. Have you done the hot water challenge thing? You know, where people you see on YouTube and stuff where you get hot water and you fling and it
Yeah,
instantly freezes. Does it actually really instantly freeze?
does happen. It's pretty crazy. So if you walk out and it's about, say, minus 20 and you throw boiling water, it's going to go. But it's crazy
Wow.
if you also go outside and you go on a walk in maybe minus 30, you'll notice within like a minute that your eyelashes have frozen. And every piece of hair that has some damp kind of water on it has just frozen. And you can just see it progress. I went on one walk where I took a photo or like a little video after just a couple of minutes, and you could just see it building.
Just captured the moment. I mean, you
Yeah.
just told me now after a couple of minutes getting out of the house. I don't know how you do it. I mean, here it's really hot now. You know, we're talking, 30, 40 degrees. And just going to the shop to get groceries. I mean, we have deliveries as well, but sometimes I like to take the kids out for a little bit of a walk. It
Yeah.
gets really hot and you're sweating. Within 5 minutes you're sweating.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think it's so
it's
much more easier when it's cold. You can always put more clothes
layers
on.
on.
That's why
That's what I
I
tell people.
really prefer the cold versus the heat because the heat you can't get rid of.
There's
But
only
with
so
the
much you
cold,
can take off until it
exactly,
becomes
yeah.
illegal.
But let me tell you, you never have enough layers here. So just
I
pile on.
Before we actually moved here to Dubai, we were actually gonna move over to Iceland. I was
Oh,
looking for opportunities over there because I myself, I'm a cold person. I do prefer the cold, and I
okay.
do a lot of camping in Scotland because that's as cold as it can be, and I love that kind of environment. I haven't actually been to Iceland myself. My trip got cancelled, but at the
Oh.
time, I didn't know about the place where you are, uh,
Mm.
and about Svalbard. But obviously, hopefully, a lot of people will know more about it now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the floodgates of tourism will open up after this video, but it'd be amazing if they did.
Yeah. We
So,
have opened for Norway now.
okay, okay.
Yes.
No, does Norway own a bit of the island, or is it independent? Are you
It
part of
is,
Norway?
there's a Svalbard Treaty, which is an agreement with it, like, okay, I have to Google it, but there's an agreement of a couple of countries, like 40 countries, that say that you can come and work here and live here without having a visa. So it's a visa-free
Wait,
zone for all of these countries from Svalbard Treaty, which they
so
made
long,
many years ago.
so long as you can pay the bills, you're all right to carry on.
Exactly, yeah. And you're allowed to start a company here, and they've made it very open. But Norway is governed. This is governed by Norway. So we have Norwegian laws that are
Ah,
specified for Svalbard, and we have a Norwegian governor and no, not governor, but Sysselmannen, which is our police.
wow.
So that's, yeah. But we've had an issue now where we haven't been able to leave the island because they closed the island for everybody, even for Norway, which is weird because we are Norway. So we've had to,
Again,
work.
this will be down to borders closing because of the
Oh,
virus.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you guys will be a lot more clearer in that sense. I'm guessing,
Yeah, because we don't have the
How,
possibilities to take care of anything that would happen. That's the problem. It's that we only have the one hospital. We don't have that many things to handle this kind of situation. But also
is
on
that because,
Svalbard, we have two Russian settlements. So there's also, you can go to Russia when you come here. So if you go
okay,
from Longyearbyen, which is where I live, and you take a boat
yeah,
or snowmobile and you go to Barentsburg, you're in Russia,
and that's how
which is
far?
like 60 kilometers.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So when you go there, you enter
you're
Russia.
touching the high tip of Russia, and then you just entered.
No,
Is
no,
that what it
it's
is?
on Svalbard. It's a
You
settlement
mean,
on Svalbard, yeah.
got you,
So they have a
got
town. Also, Russia has a town on Svalbard, which is
you.
just like house.
It sounds a lot like Antarctica, which is kind of similar, where you've got, where it's broken up to different countries and different, like UK's got a bit,
Yeah,
New Zealand has got a bit, and all the other countries as well. It's similar to that, really, isn't it? But
yeah.
obviously,
Well,
the
you have
difference being,
Russia that has one part, and then Norway-ish. Yeah, Norway has this part, and then also there's one more settlement called Pyramiden, which is the ghost town. Have you heard about it?
no, do tell
Oh,
us.
you haven't? You need to do a Google deep dive. You'll love it. So
Right,
there's
go on.
a whole town up here that's abandoned, and it was Russian. It was supposed to be this amazing place that where they moved a bunch of people from Russia, and they had this coal mine, and they made it the most beautiful little village. But then there was an incident, and there was a plane crash, and then they left it. But everything is left as it was. So you can walk into the school and everything is still there. The books are on the tables. Like everything is just left as it was. And now they have a hotel there. And like four
So how
people live
long are
there.
we talking?
What do you mean?
How long has it been empty? How long has it been a ghost town?
About like 30 years maybe?
Wow. So are the
It's
items sort of like preserved quite well because of the
Yeah,
cold,
because they're
obviously.
like
They do, but
yeah, and then you have four people living there, I think in the winter and maybe 10 in the summer or something. And they keep this hotel running and they take care of guests and you can eat their Russian food. It's fascinating. It's amazing. It's beautiful,
that
but it's
really is.
completely creepy. Yeah.
You've got your best friend with you, and you seem to be carrying a rifle of some sort.
Yeah, a shotgun which is what I
Shotgun.
wear. Yeah.
There
So
we
it's
can
for
see a lot
polar
better.
bear protection only. I think people get this a little bit confused. I'm not a hunter. I don't have a hunting license. And I only wear it because we have to wear it. Because on Svalbard, we have polar bears that, I mean, they show up out of nowhere. I think there's on our island and the surrounding islands, there's about 3,000 bears. And they can be anywhere at any time. So when we go outside, there's certain points outside the village where you have to start carrying a gun. I live outside that point. So I need to carry a gun at all times when I go on walks and whenever I go outside pretty much. Because if you run into one, you need to be able to scare it off and worst case scenario, protect yourself. But there
Mm,
is a huge fine if you shoot a bear, even if it's self-defense, because we shouldn't kind of be anywhere in a
that
situation where,
close.
yeah, exactly. There should have been any, but of course it can happen. Like I said, we have a lot of bears going through this neighborhood, but then we need to be able to handle it where we don't shoot a bear. And I don't think we don't have that many cases where people have shot bears. It has happened, but it's not that
Mm.
often. So I
You
think
don't
it's
really
worth
hear it often as well.
no.
Um, There was one where there was this trip of boys that went from the UK.
Oh
I
yes.
think it was Norway. I
Yeah.
don't know if you heard about it, where I can't remember. He was, I think, 12 or 13. When they have those defenses, don't they, the alarms, but they
Tripwire.
didn't go off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Never
it didn't
trust
go off,
tripwire.
and it attacked the child, unfortunately, and that was a tragic event where they had to put the bear down.
Yeah.
It was really sad because it's actually one of my favorite animals, and I always tell my wife, it's like if I ever come near a teddy bear, near a polar bear, so long as I get the shot, I don't care if it kills me. Obviously, I don't mean this
But
literally.
I know what you mean, though. You want the shot.
You want the shot, but I also do love that animal so much. I don't know what it is. I just find them so cuddly and so they're probably not as welcoming as I want them to be. But then
But
again,
I
there's not a lot
promise
on me
you,
that did.
yeah. But I promise you also that kind of feeling of wanting to take a photo, I thought that that was going to be my first instinct. But when those two little bears showed up, I was so just mesmerized that I didn't pick up any camera. I had like
Yeah,
four on
you
the
just get
table,
caught in
and
the
I was just
moment.
like, oh my God. So you kind of like your instincts kick in and cameras goes out the window and you just want to look at them
So,
because it's
so just talk about the rarity. You're saying they don't often come up. In your 4 years of being there, how many times have you actually come across them on your path?
never on my path walking, which is quite weird because it's just coincidence. I will have gone on my walk and then 1 hour later there's a polar bear going through our village. So it's just random luck. But when we've been out on our trips, we frequently see them because we're also like driving around on our snowmobiles miles and kilometers. So we're covering a lot of ground. So then we see a lot. But I've never ever come into like a situation where I feel like I have to even pick up my gun because I'm gonna have to protect myself. I've always been inside on a snowmobile or far away.
So when you're
So
talking about these trips, what do you mean by the trips? What are they? Are they tourist kind of trips that you do, or is it
no,
work related
so
trips?
we only have, like I said, our little village. So the only way to kind of get out of the village in the wintertime is by snowmobile. And that's what we all do. It's what we spend all of our weekends doing and every free time. Because outside of the village are all the glaciers and all the snow and all the mountains. So we have huge sleds, which we pack full of gear. I think our sleds weigh about 400 kilos that we pull after our snowmobiles. And then we go to different cabins, and the cabins can be super far away. It can be like one of our cabin trips was 6 hours one way. So we're driving to the East Coast, and then we stay there for a weekend, and we just chill and stay inside the cabin and go on trips, and then we drive home. So that's kind of what our life up here is about for, well, many of us. We just go out on cabin trips or
How,
snowmobile
what, how do you manage to fuel that all the way? Do you have like
bring
canisters with you,
everything.
or you
Yeah.
have
So you
extra
bring
fuel?
everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we bring, I mean, on that trip, we had 150 liters of petrol, I think, for two snowmobiles. Might have been a
Wow.
bit more. Yeah, and then also there's no electricity or running water, so you have to bring water with you. You also have to
Yeah.
bring wood with you because you have to,
Fire.
yeah, for fire, and we don't have any wood up here, so all the wood gets transported from the mainland. So we bring that with us. So the weirdest things are very expensive up here. Like wood is super expensive because we don't have it. So we have the freight and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we go out on snowmobile trips to, just see everything and to go take photos and check out glaciers. And there's so much to explore. It's
That's
crazy. To
going to
Iceland.
Iceland. And now I'm actually talking to somebody. I'm talking to somebody right now who is living a life that I could have or wanted to live, so to speak. And it's like,
Yeah.
as much as I love you right now, I also hate you so much at the same time. But it's amazing. It's what,
The
what
Svalbard
do you do
is,
for work?
for
How do
work,
you get by?
sorry.
How do you get by in terms of work wise? What do you do for work?
So when I came up here, I started working at a place called Huset, which was the best kind of starting job ever because it is the heart of the village. So I got to know many people, and I was there for like 3 years, I think, working with as a booking manager for a restaurant. But then I moved into kind of photography and I got my first drone. It's kind of funny because I didn't even own a camera before I got my drone. I had no interest in photography. It was just, I didn't even think about it. And then I got my drone and my eyes were opened. So I started my
Wait,
whole, yeah,
wait, this is very recent,
yeah,
obviously,
like
because
2 years ago when the first
you
DJI
just
Mavic came out.
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
I bought the same one when it came out. These images do look like you've got some extensive sort of like background. easily.
It's
But to
crazy.
say that you've done that in just less time, you really have got the eye for detail there. Credit where credit's
I don't
due,
know what it is,
definitely.
but yeah, something, because I didn't even have anything with photography to do before. And then I got my drone. I got super into it because I've always been kind of a nerd. I play a lot of video games. I love tech. And then this was the perfect thing. I could fly and see and start taking photos, which I didn't even, it's not why I bought it. I wanted to play with it. And then it just kind of evolved from there. And I got my first camera and then I really got into it. And yeah, it's crazy. So now I work with kind of videography and photography, like freelance. And I also
Yeah.
work for the school that is up here. What's very normal in Svalbard is having many jobs or just doing a bit of everything
Right.
because
Yeah.
you kind of just cover all your hours at different
That's
places.
right.
I'm working at the school. I'm working with photography. I also worked in a clothing store for a while, which I love because it forces me to put on normal clothes. Otherwise, I'll just be running around in, pajamas or outdoor gear. So a
You
bit
know,
of everything.
when it came to buying and getting hold of the cameras, is it difficult to do that there? And it seems like a silly question, but do you have like a massive or some sort of camera store that has stuff? Because I wouldn't
No,
imagine you'd have something, because
we
obviously there's
kind of
so
have,
many people. So
yeah. So what we have up here in like store wise is a lot of outdoor gear, and then we have one supermarket with very expensive food, and then we buy everything online. But what is good is that it's tax free, so we get everything tax free.
so you're saying
So
online, but where's it actually coming from?
Norway. Not a lot of people ship here, but if you can do like you can fool them and just put Norway on and hope that it gets here, and it's worked every time for me. But with my like expensive camera gear, I buy it from Norwegian online shops, and they know what to do. So we
Ah,
have like, I'd say tech-wise, we have a lot of options. Clothing-wise, not many to buy. Gear is very important, I'd say. It's
you
very
know,
important.
when you're living in your cabin, how is it like with heating and keeping it warm? Are you burning wood, or do you have like what we have, which is central heat? Well, I don't think you'll have central heating. I don't know how it works. How does it
No,
work over
so
there?
our cabin, we don't have any water. So we have to bring every water in. Like we don't have a shower and we don't have a normal toilet. So we have no running water. You're
This is
so
where you're living right now.
yes, in my house, we have no running water. So if I shower, I
Is it?
go
Is
to
it? It's not made of bricks, though, is it? It's literally a cabin made of wood.
yes, it's beautiful. I would show you, but it looks a little bit now. But
Yeah, I know
so
you said you've got builders coming in, so
yeah, so we have no running water. So we bring all of the water in like kind of canisters, and we have some systems to get it working. So when we do our dishes, we have kind of like a big boiling water thing that we can use and get the water out. But we realize it's too expensive to burn wood. So we put a AC in, an air conditioned unit that
yeah,
also is warm, like a heater in the
warm.
winter,
Yeah,
which has been working pretty good considering it's been minus 30. And we've had like icicles coming on the outside of, the
yeah,
outside
yeah,
part of
yeah.
it's just been like, but it's worked. It gets really cold sometimes though, so we have to like double up. But
Where do you actually get your water from? You're saying you bring it in. Is that you just go
my
outside and
yeah, my boyfriend fills them at his work, or we have to go to a friend's house. And also when we shower, we go to either a friend's house or like the sports place. You get very comfortable with this life. And like I'll be like a little
and
laundry
that's
person.
okay. That's
Like
not frowned upon. Is that
I love
normal?
it though. Like I'm so surprised that after a year of living like this, I have no issues. I thought it was gonna get annoying, and still I'm like, anybody wanna, let me in for a shower? I'm like, fine. And I'll be there with my laundry basket like twice, like every other week. Like, can I go to your place?
Let's do some washing and whatnot.
Yeah. So you get very
Sounds like
flexible.
it sounds like the perfect dream.
Yeah. But it's kind of nice. It's like just knowing that you'll be fine with it. It's a good challenge.
What other sort of wildlife do you get? I noticed you have a few images of, the is it the Arctic? I'm gonna guess it's the Arctic fox, the
Yeah.
white one.
Arctic fox or I
Um,
think quarter fox. Either way.
are they quite common, or is it again are they a bit rare like the polar bear? And do you just
No, we
see
have
them whenever?
so many Arctic foxes. It's
Oh
insane.
wow!
What's so funny though is apparently like many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, it was very rare to see an Arctic fox and now they're everywhere. So I'm not sure what's happening there, But we have them running around our house all the time. They're everywhere. So they're easy to see. You just have to go out and look for them because they're tiny. They're super small and very fluffy and very good at camouflage.
We've got one over here. There, yeah. There's the one.
Yeah, right outside our house, taunting
How
grins.
was he? Look, he's like he's ready for the camera. He's ready for the shot.
They're such posers. You'll see them just, sit down in front of the lens and they'll be like, it's very funny. They're
It's
like,
so beautiful.
yeah,
They're so cute.
they're very cute. But they do eat like meat and dead reindeers, so they're little murder foxes.
How do I say? How sensitive do you think they are? Oh, I love that. I don't know how you managed to do that.
A piece of cheese dangling in front of him. He is the
Are they,
cutest.
are the foxes like? Can you approach them any closer if you want to take the shot? Or are they like the normal ones where they just see you and run away like straight away?
I think they're posers. So you'll have like the ones that are used to people, like out here, where they literally come super close to you and just check out what you're doing because they're very curious. But it's good to have, I've realized it's good to have a long lens or like a 100 to 400 because you kind of always need that extra reach.
Mm,
Oh, this ice cold.
just to get that image, yeah. That's
Insane.
inside the yeah.
It took us many hours to get here, and it was very hard to get here because we didn't really have. I can explain. So outside of the village, everything is just, everyone's land. We can drive almost anywhere, but there's nowhere, like there's no roads, if you know what I mean. So you need GPS tracks, and either you have them
Yeah.
yourselves, and the terrain changes every season. So every time you go to the same place, it's going to look different. And getting
Mm.
here was very interesting because it took some tricky driving with our snowmobiles because we were going up and, in water kind of on this like super thin ice. But I mean, it was very worth it. It's insane. Such an incredible cabin. Not a cabin. What's it called? Glacier cave. It's massive. I was flying my drone in there. That was also very
Is that what
interesting.
that noise is?
Yeah. It surprisingly well, it worked. It
Yeah,
always
because it
trusts
needs
the
GPS,
pilot.
doesn't it?
Yeah, and I thought it was gonna, maybe not do well, but it did. This is also in the middle of the day during the polar nights, and it was snowing. And we are driving on ice here. Thick ice. This is open water now.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's also like
wow.
another thing. Many of our trips go over ice, but you also always need to be aware of, is this ice thick enough? So you need to bring
Yeah,
drills and you need to check how thick the ice is. And
because it has to be to a certain thickness for safety,
yeah,
doesn't it? You like make a hole or something or drill it
yeah.
and find out.
And it does
Do
happen
you ever?
often that people lose their snowmobiles because they've gone through the water. Maybe not like super often, but it happens. I know of many people who've lost snowmobiles in the water. Well, through ice. This is when I
This is.
did, yeah, we did a Chinese documentary last year. I was in an
Oh wow.
episode, yeah, that aired in China. I think it had like 60 million views. It was insane. So they sent over Lu Wen, which is one of the biggest supermodels, and she went
Right.
on. We went to Pan for Gold with her.
Oh wow.
Very
How was that experience?
incredible and insane. It was very long days, and it was just very special. But I loved it. It was very cool. She was such a trooper. She really just pulled through. We were doing quite
Yeah.
like proper hikes.
Looking at walruses,
Yeah. So we have
they
many.
seem quite frightening. How are they? How again are they just something that you just see them, they'll come by, or you
A
need to
lot
go
of
look
people,
for them?
a lot of people actually say that they are way more scared to meet a walrus than a polar bear because that's how aggressive they
Yeah.
can be.
It's
So
simply, I think it's
these,
just because of the tusks seem to be quite big, and then you just imagine how much damage they can probably do. But
and they're quite
um,
aggressive. They're like,
it can be
they
when
want
they're
to
in
be left
packs.
alone. So these two were laying on the ice outside the cabin we were staying in, and so I just sent my drone out and I made sure they
Also,
weren't,
they were close by.
yeah, super close by. They were just outside maybe like 100 meters. So they kind
Yeah.
of show up. Not a lot here because we are, I don't know, they just don't really show up here a lot. But there are many places where they are. Sometimes they'll be in the village and it's just laying out on the beach, or it's kind of like everything. You'll run into it if you are out exploring. Oh, this is
Isn't that just a perfect selfie?
my favorite glacier, the Fstop Glacier.
And again, that'll change every time because obviously the way
Yeah,
the water behaves and the way the season is and everything else as
yeah.
well.
So that's winter
Phenomenal.
season. And the next time we came back a couple of weeks later, and we couldn't even go to the same place on the mountain because the snow had shifted. That's
Tell me
also
about this image. I find this quite fascinating. Just loved how it's composed really well. You've got a solid ice on one side, and then you've got, is that a glacier front that I'm looking at, and it's fallen on the side? It's just
no, you're
fallen down.
actually looking at where you have two houses there. So it's the cabin
Correct.
we were staying in, which is
Ah,
I don't know how it's 2 hours away from Longyearbyen on snowmobile. So you have the permanently frozen ground on the left side, and then you
right.
have all the ice which has broken apart on the right side. And also the big flake of ice is actually ice toppled on top of each other. So it's like a pile of
Ah,
ice
gotcha.
floating around in like perfectly squares, and it's super blue. It's crazy.
Do you ever do fishing?
Yeah, in the summer we fish Arctic cod. So soon, as soon as we have our boat in.
Is that where you just all right? Did you actually go out to the waters? Not one way. I've seen it on some documentaries where they actually drill like the hole.
Oh, yeah, we do that as well. It's just that we don't have that many good waters to do the pimpelfisk. What was it called?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so we do that. I tried, but it didn't work very well. So
How would you know where about the fish? You know, you've got, like I said, you've got this solid ice. How would you know where the fish might be?
well, you have to
Especially
check
if
on your
it's solid and if it's permanently solid, that
yeah.
ice is going to be thick and hard to some extent.
Yeah.
Fish are going to have to be fairly deep underneath,
Yeah.
obviously. How do you know? There's no such fish detector, is there really?
No, no, no. So you just have to drill a hole and then you have to sit there very patiently. That's why I don't do
Yeah.
that much because you have to sit very patiently for a while.
And then
So
hope
that
something
kind of
will come along.
fishing, yeah, and then, but a lot of people do it and they get some fish, but you don't get that much. So it's more for the experience, I think. But fishing in the summer is amazing. I've caught a cod that was 12 kilos, which is
Ooh.
my biggest one I've caught. So it's huge. And
I mean, dinner
that's
sorted for
just
two
right
weeks.
outside our house. So we take our boat and we go out here, and that's a really good fishing spot. So we would fish
Wow.
actually for the restaurants, me and my boyfriend, that we could pull up like 100 kilo of cod in a couple of hours. Just, it's very much
Fishing is
about,
what fishing is a trade that they had in Iceland at the time as well. Anyway, when it all started off, and a bit of Norway as well. But I think it's calmed down a bit now, hasn't it? I
yeah.
can assume that that's where all the freshwater fish would be
So I
in
think
those kind of seas.
a big issue for us up here is that we don't have anything like any food that we can source ourselves. Well, we don't have that much. So I think we
Mm,
always try to make sure to use the resources we have. So
yeah.
if we have fish, we want to go out and try to fish it because we get nothing
Mm.
else that's fresh. We have reindeer, but very little. If you're a hunter, you get one reindeer per year that you can hunt in a certain period at a certain
Ah,
place.
so it's allowed.
Yeah. So
You can only hunt one. That is it.
yeah, exactly. As a private like person with your own hunting license, you get one reindeer. But that reindeer, you also need to go and hunt in that area you're allocated, which can be far away.
Oh,
And then you also need to carry that reindeer home with you. So
but
it's very like out in the nature. But I think it's the proper way to do it. Like you should do it the like proper way, if you know what I mean. You should go out there.
yeah,
If you're going to shoot it, then
it's
you need
not.
to bring it back
And then cook it and then store
exactly.
it
It's
and then
all on your own.
not
Yeah.
not like what we've got here. We've got like a million apps that just allow you to order your food at your fingertips and it's all there within 30 minutes.
Exactly. It's super
Cooked. Everything's all done for you. You just eat it and throw it away and enjoy, and that's all it is. That's
yeah.
just how the stark difference between the life on one side of the planet and right exactly where you are. So tell me more about Svalbard. I mean, you did mention it's kind of open for tourists. Not now, obviously, because of the border lockdowns, but once it opens, what can sort of people expect, and what
I
are your
think
thoughts and views?
everybody really should try to come and visit Svalbard, but it's also very important to just choose your season because every season is going to give you something different. So if you
Hmm.
want to come for snowmobiling and seeing polar bears and, the glaciers, you should come in the winter season, which is kind of February till May. And I think check out the website Visit Svalbard just to see when and what you want to do here, because that is really going to define your trip. But there's so much. I mean, if you want to see the Northern Lights, we have 2.5 months with pretty much only Northern Lights. It's just a
Wow.
very special place. I think there's so much to see here, and I think we really love getting our tourists and the visitors and showing off this island. It's just a
And just to
beautiful.
be clear, obviously, it's a lot more different in a different way to Iceland. It's got its own beauty, hasn't it?
It's very different. I don't think you can compare the two because in Iceland you can drive around. You have a whole different kind of tourism. You have the geysers, and up here
Mm.
it's about getting out of the village, but only with what you can bring in a way. You go on snowmobile trips and you go on boat trips. It's a lot more barren and a lot more remote than I think you can imagine because it's literally there's nothing outside of the village.
Yeah, you really do need a lot of sort of like adrenaline and the need and the want to go out there.
I think
Uh,
so, yeah. If you're looking for a comfortable trip, this is not going to be your trip. I think you need to be able to come here and, have kind of an urge to see something different and to
mm.
push yourself a little bit. And many of the trips are easy to go on. You can choose a nice, like, snowmobile trips that just a couple of hours. But do try it because it's beautiful.
So yeah, thanks so much for your time. Really
Thank you
appreciate that.
so much for having me. This is so
No, thank
exciting.
you.
So it's
Thank you.
it's
You
great
are a
that you're so in
superstar, like I
Svalbard.
said in the start. You are somebody who's totally different, who's living the life that is absolutely amazing. And you've shown us how different it can be and how beautiful it can be. But you just need to have I think your heart and mind really need to be set on that kind of environment. It's
Yeah,
not as easy like
definitely.
you just said. You need to be ready for it. And
Yeah.
I think the hardest part, and this is going to sound really strange, the hardest part is maybe trying not to fall in love with it because you went initially for 3 months and 4.5 years later, you're still there.
Definitely.
It's hard not to fall in love with beauty and nature. It's one of those things.
It really
Right.
is.
Thank you, and we'll speak to you soon at some point. All the
Thank
best.
you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.